Right, hello and welcome to another Expert Inside interview. My name is John Golden from Sales Pop, online sales magazine, and Pipeliner CRM, joining you as usual from a sunny San Diego. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Liat Siegel, who is on the far side, on the other coast in New York. How are you doing, Liat?
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Thank you
Liat
for
is a strategic interior designer, founder of Haider, correct?
Hadar.
Haider Interiors, mother of six from New York. She helps real estate investors, developers, and business owners maximize profits through smart ROI driven design. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And here's a topic we've never talked about on this show before. We've talked about design in some elements, but we've never talked about designing spaces that sell, like design as a real driver of revenue or a driver of value. So just talk to me about Liat. Most people see, if you have a physical business or whatever, I mean, most people obviously view it as it's the products and stuff that sell. It's the space they're in is nice, but it's secondary.
Right. Yes, 100%. And I will flip that on its head, uh, day in, day out, because the especially in real estate, the property is the product,
Hmm.
and your or in a corporate setting, your product gets out the door by the people running the show, and if they don't feel good, or people, let me say it better, people that feel good do good.
Right.
And so when people come into a space, whether it be a home that they're purchasing, or they're going to work, or they're coming into a business that they're about to buy from, if they
Mhm.
feel good coming into that space, from the first time they see it online to the time they go into the space, then they're going to have confidence in that business. They're going to feel good and want to do more business with them. They're going to want to stay there longer, and are going to be willing to spend more in order to continue doing business with them.
Yeah. So how does that work? I mean, what are some of the mistakes you've seen that people make with the design and the presentation of their locations?
Number one is not putting enough thought into the planning process.
Hmm.
Many times people will hire a contractor or an architect without putting enough thought and intention in all the finishes and the furniture and the strategic setup of the space, and just how the proper flow when you walk in. So without that, when you go into construction, the bids are are not correct. You often will have change orders, and timelines will increase. And so not having that plan in place is crucial. It's crucial to have that plan in place so that you can save time and money.
Hmm. And say for I mean, what are some of the ways that it works? So when you work with businesses, what are some of the first things that you do to ensure that they get it right from the beginning?
My first step is really to do comparables. Just like if you're buying real estate, you do comps to see
Yeah.
what other properties are selling for. But I look deeper at the actual pictures of the homes that have sold, and also for if it's a short-term rental or mid-term rental, especially what are the other properties, what are they getting in their nightly rates, their occupancy rates, um, homes that have sold, etc. And how can we up level that with our design plans, or do something just as good or better. And then we have a whole system called the road method, return on environmental
Mhm.
design, where we ensure step by step that there is a strategic process in place to maximize the square footage and the profitability of that space.
Right. And that's something that obviously, I mean, when you come in and get involved, and unfortunately, when it comes to design, like, everybody has an opinion, right? Don't they?
Yes.
And therefore, so working with you, do you sometimes have to like persuade your clients that, yes, that sounds like a good idea, but here is why that is minimizing the use of space, or maybe this is why it's impacting the flow. I mean, sometimes, like I said, everybody has an opinion, so it's got to be a negotiation sometime for you to sort of say, no, this isn't going to work that way that you think it is.
Right. So, I mean, what's really refreshing is now, after having done this for 17 years,
Mm-hmm.
um, I come in as a strategic partner and
Mm-hmm.
advisor. And so oftentimes my clients will come to me and say, I don't know what to do, or I trust you fully because I've seen what you can do. I've seen your experience and the results that others have gotten, and I
Mm-hmm.
trust you wholeheartedly. I think that this might be the way to go, but I'm leaving it to you, which is, it's really like, I'm so honored
Right.
to be at that place in my career, um, because it certainly wasn't like that in the beginning as I
Mm-hmm.
was learning and growing and trying to figure out. But after 17 years, I really become that strategic advisor for each of my clients, and they leave so much up to me.
Yeah. And how is the design of space and the utilization and the design elements in space changing? Because it's always a changing environment, and it's like funny, when your house, when you have a home and it starts off as like, modern, and then like 10 years later it's traditional.
Right,
because
right, right.
tastes have moved on. So what is the where is design today?
I think the question is more about, how a design stays timeless,
Hmm.
right? Is it not? And that, so that it really shifts according to what the trends are, and to make sure that it's not getting outdated. Like, we focus not on forcing an aesthetic on our
Right.
clients, or the businesses that we work with, but more so pulling out what their brand is, keeping it fresh and modern, and having that timeless feel to it so it doesn't become dated.
Hmm. So tell me a bit about how brand can be reflected in physical design of a space.
So it's definitely that online to offline
Hmm.
presence. We're working on a project out in North Carolina right now where we're helping them literally transform all their online brand presence, because it has to then be translated into the space.
Hmm.
So the brand colors, the fonts, all of that, there's a general vibe, there's a general energy to, like a luxury brand. You
Hmm.
see it immediately, that what it's all about. And so that translates into the physical space through those same brand colors and that overall vibe and aesthetic.
Yeah, because that's interesting. Because I mean, if you did go to the online presence and then you go to a physical location, and the two of them kind of contrast a bit, that's an odd, isn't it? It probably happens quite a lot, but I mean, it's definitely an odd dynamic for, just you when you first enter the space.
Yeah, it's honestly, like, I've seen it very often. As a consumer, it's very confusing.
Hmm.
And you want to create that level of trust. Maybe somebody, a consumer, doesn't know that this is a problem. They can't verbalize, and they say good design is felt, not seen.
Right.
Right? And because people don't realize it's like a rock in your shoe. You know that it's there, it's bothering you, but good design, um, it's seamless. So, experiencing that brand, that disjointedness is very confusing to the consumer. And so they won't necessarily know why they don't want to be in that space, or they don't know why they don't want to continue doing business.
Mhm.
But it's still there. It's still, you need to create that continuity of confidence within the consumer.
Yeah, because like you mentioned earlier, like the concept of vibe, where it's, it's a little nebulous, but the point is that is how we react to things, right? That's how we react to the spaces around us. It either welcomes us or calms us or excites us or maybe intimidates us, depending how it's done.
Right.
So it is. There are real. So when people enter a space, they have real, not just like emotion, but they have real physiological reactions to it, right?
Yeah, 100%. It's like, when you see a space, if you're going to buy a home or you're going to buy a property and you see it online and they've staged it or they, done some sort of enhancements to um, the graphics, and then you go to the space and you're like, wait, this isn't
Yeah.
what I saw online.
Yeah.
It's very confusing.
It is. It is, especially in real estate. You get that, where there was a phase. I think thankfully it's gone away a little bit, but they were just using fisheye lenses and making everything look huge and all of
Right.
that, and then spraying, like hosing down everything and making it look wet and shiny. But when you arrive, it's completely like it's half the size of what it looked like because the fisheye
Right.
lens, and it doesn't look like how dramatic it looked like in the photo. So it's nice
Exactly.
that it attracted you there, but if the reality is such a contrast, you're shooting yourself in the foot.
Exactly. And it's really important, like the finishes and the, even the smells that are in the space. It's all marketing. Design is, at the end of the day, it's
Yeah,
just a marketing tool in order to connect to the consumer. Rather than, I like to say, I like to really focus not on just the money aspect of
sure.
making investors and developers and, our customers in the hospitality and business space more money, but I like to look at it from the lens of what impact are we making on the people that are using the space. Are
Right.
they able to connect more? Are they able to, when at a restaurant, somebody's going to want to take their future wife, they want to make a proposal there. They're not going to
Mhm.
go to McDonald's. They're
Right.
going to go to a
Um,
fancier restaurant because it
no.
exudes that. Hopefully they won't take them to McDonald's.
Yeah. And yeah, by the way, I had somebody recently who's a real estate expert, and apparently people make the decision about the house they buy, they actually make it in about 4.5 seconds when they walk into the
Wow.
right location.
Wow.
Yeah,
So, but
and I thought back to when we bought our current house. I was just thinking, yeah, I pretty much did that because I'd
right,
seen to your point, I'd seen the pictures. I thought this looks great, and I walked in and said it's exactly what I thought it was. I was sold immediately. So there you
right.
go.
And if it wasn't right,
Oh,
what would your reaction have been?
I would have turned around and walked straight back out.
Right, you would have felt cheated. Yeah.
Yeah, I would have felt cheated, but I'm one of those people who would have just gone no and walked straight back out again.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit more about, as you said. Part of it is for obviously business and that, but tell me a little bit about how you can use design to make the environment that people work in optimized so that they feel like they want to be there. They feel energized when they're there. They feel proud when they're at work.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many different elements that go into the overall planning of a space. Um, Ensuring that the space feels open enough and not claustrophobic,
Mhm.
or it's not too open where
Right.
you don't have the privacy to be able to do head down work. So there's a proper balance. But more importantly is the flow of the space and how the furniture is set up. Are there conversation corners? Are there collaboration corners? Is there place to do head down work? Does the person coming in at reception know where to sit and where,
Mhm.
to ask for help, or where the bathrooms are, the signage? So there's all these different components. And then there's the aspect of company culture
Mhm.
that needs to be infused into the space. So again, the brand colors and just the values of the company, the core values that are constantly reminded, like a reminder throughout the space, encouraging and uplifting their employees to feel good and to remember that they're not just another number, that they're cared for, and that the company sees them as an asset, not
Mhm.
just another cog in the wheel.
Yeah, and I've seen this firsthand before, is where unfortunately sometimes like management make all the decisions and don't like think about put themselves in the shoes of some of the employees, or maybe involve some employees in the process, and then maybe you end up with a wonderfully open space, but a space where the rank and file are going, yeah, I've no privacy, this is awful, I feel like I'm in a fishbowl or whatever. Whereas if they'd had a little bit of consultation, they would realize, yes, you can still achieve the same thing, but with maybe giving people a little bit more privacy.
Yeah. And I really like um, surveying the people that work in the space. So I don't just come in and just work with the CEOs and
Mhm.
the board to come up with design that is out of touch with the people using the space. I will survey the customers. I will survey the people that are working there. I will survey anyone who has a touch point within the company so that I can get an idea. Maybe there's something that they're missing, that
Mhm.
because they're boots on the ground.
Yeah.
They know day to day what's working, what's not. And then from that perspective, we can create a really strategic design that the ROI is not just financially, but the ROI is also your biggest asset if it's a
Mhm.
corporate
Yeah.
um, or a company that has people. There is them being happy in the space and doing good. So the ROI has so many different components to it. It's not just the financial aspect; it's also the human aspect as well.
Yeah. So, from some of the work you've done, what are some of the things that maybe have surprised you a little bit when you've done those surveys, when you're doing that planning? Some of the feedback you've gotten.
So in terms of feedback, I think I don't think that I was so surprised because I kind of knew intuitively, and I have been doing this for so long,
Mhm.
but it's always so empowering to hear it in their own words
Right.
and to know, and then to be able to share that feedback with with management.
Mhm.
So that's more surprising is
Right.
that the management isn't aware of just how much of an impact it makes on everybody else. We were doing an office space, and the receptionist came and told me, "I love coming to work now. I love being here. I wanna put on makeup. I wanna, like," and she imagine how her energy is now when she's greeting
Mhm.
people coming in. We're talking million-dollar partnerships, multi-million
Mhm.
dollar partnerships, and what a difference that makes in potential, business for that company.
Right. And what was it you liked so much about the new space?
Everything, every
Everything?
aspect. It was a haven,
Mhm.
for her,
Yeah.
and she felt more, um, like this is what this space should be. This is a proper it's like putting on a suit,
Mhm.
rather than being in pajamas. Um, it's the proper representation of the company, and so she felt, like this, was a proper match.
Yeah, which is obviously, as you said, I mean, there's one of the, well, obviously the first touch point when somebody comes into that physical space is going to be the reception area. So we've all had that experience, haven't you? I mean, you walk in and you're greeted by a lovely reception area with somebody behind the desk who's all happy and upbeat, or you've come in. Worse is, do you remember they went through this phase where everybody was getting rid of reception desks and
Mhm.
people would just come into an empty place and have to call a number or ding a bell or
Right.
something like
It's
that, and
like
you just
it's
think like,
confusing.
how yeah, yeah, that's a great first impression.
Yeah, exactly. You don't know where to go, you don't know what to do, you don't know, like, if you're supposed to be there or not. Um, and the same is true, whether it's working with investors or a restaurant
Mhm,
or a hotel, um, you know, or a religious organization. We were involved with some plans for Times Square Church,
mhm,
um, and all of that is understanding the people that are using the space and what they want, and just giving it to them,
mhm.
right, and providing that proper environment, so that they can they want to be there, continuously be there, or if it's a real estate investment, that the potential buyer is going to buy it quickly
Yeah.
and pay maybe a little bit more than the
Mhm.
next property.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I think that's where you see so many different approaches to that. Sometimes you see people, stage and overload it. Sometimes they go too sparse. Sometimes they, and it always lack. I always find that it seems to lack a coherent plan. It just seems like, or you even looks like different people set up different rooms.
Yeah, 100%. It's not cohesive in any way.
Exactly, exactly. Well, listen, Leah, this has been fascinating, fascinating subject. As I said, we've never had this subject on Sales Pop before, so thank you. All of Liat's information will be below this video. But before we go, please do remind people what you do.
Yes, we focus on ROI-driven interior design for investors, developers, and visionary businesses.
Yeah, love it. I love that ROI driven design. It's fantastic. So listen, thanks again, Leah. Thank you for watching and listening. Hey, listen, if you're thinking of redoing a space, if you're got some property to sell or whatever, I encourage you to reach out. As I said, somebody told me recently, 4.5 seconds is how long it takes most people to decide on the place that they're going to buy. So that says a lot for the impact that when somebody walks through the front door, what the impact of how it appears really is. So I'd encourage you to go check out Liat's business. All right. Well, listen, thanks again, Leah. Thank you for watching and listening, and I'll see you all again very soon. Thank you.
Thank you.